by the time you listen to this, I will be the proud owner of some new heavy machinery. I don't know what it is about guys in machinery, but there's just something primal about it. It's like sitting around a campfire. So just heavy machinery just does. Welcome to the Dirt Podcasts. I'm Miles Solomon. Every week, I share my perspective on commercial real estate and the business of trading dirt. Let's get into it.
Nothing in this podcast is legal, tax, or investment advice. It's for entertainment only, loosely inspired by real estate, and any resemblance to actual people, deals, or outcomes is accidental or aggressively fictionalized. Talk to your attorney, CPA, and advisors before acting on anything you hear.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you're listening to this podcast. We missed a week last week. It won't happen again. Just too much going on. I had the close of the ranch, which we closed last week. We ended up having, originally I had set it up with agricultural financing, which is a cousin of Fannie and Freddie Mae, which is Farmer Mac, and we had a loan set up through there. I just wasn't getting much from the bank. I sent them a $5,000 appraisal fee, and they had the appraiser out there. But every time I emailed them, they'd go, oh, yeah, we think we're going to be able to close. We think everything's good. But it was just giving me the creeps, and I had a feeling that, something was going to happen. So I ended up working another deal out with a friend of mine, and I got an interest-only 5-year loan at 6%. And we ended up doing some horse trading to get that. And there was no paperwork and no loan processing, nothing, just one day and done. So we closed on Friday of last week, and I'm stoked about that. It has been a goal of mine since I was probably, 12 or 13 to have my own little off-grid prepper place where I can cosplay cowboy. And that's now been achieved. It's a starter ranch. It might be the last ranch, who knows. 40 acres sounds like a lot, but there's a lot of hills. It's not that much when you're actually there. And then when it comes to doing productive things with the land, there's like almost nothing you can do with 40 acres to make money that I know of. Nothing legal, at least. Could probably grow some meth or weed or however, whatever. But in the legal realm, I don't think there's any way to really make money. The ratio for cattle in California is 1 cow per 10 acres. Per 20 acres, 15 acres, whatever it is. It's like 3 or 4 cows. So that's not going to work. I looked at, a few different things. I think what we're going to end up doing is just having some horses there, have a vineyard, small vineyard, grow on wine for our friends and family, and not do shit with it. Just keep it. We've got like over 100 oak trees, and it's up on this hill in the Santa Ynez Valley overlooking kind of this river basin. It's beautiful, and we're probably not going to do anything with it. We just spent the weekend there. Friday night, well, let me back up a little bit. My grandfather died of esophageal cancer years and years ago. My dad's had acid reflux forever and been fucking around with that since I was a kid. I have inherited the lovely disease or whatever it is. And so Friday, I had a surgery where they put a bionic chip in me. I'm now a cyborg. So I plan to be really transacting and coordinating with AI to take over the world now. No, unfortunately, it's not that. It's literally just a chip they put in my throat to measure the acid in my throat. And so I've been walking around, going to meetings, doing yard work, loading trailers, unloading trailers with this $7,000 machine I had to sign a waiver for that's hanging on my neck for a week. And it's telling me the acid levels of my throat. So I've got this little computer around my neck, and I've got a chip in my throat that's transmitting a Bluetooth signal of acid levels. Right now, I'm happy to report acidity's at 5, so I think that's fine. I don't know. In any case, so I got out of surgery Friday afternoon at like 2:30. I do not respond well to anesthesia. For some reason, it makes me extremely angry when I wake up. So I was in a pretty foul temper, you could call it, when I woke up. And the first thing I said was, "How did the surgery go?" And the nurse didn't respond. She was standing next to me on the computer. She didn't respond for a few seconds. And then I said, "Hello, how did the surgery go?" And she said, "I'm just putting some paperwork. I'll be with you in a minute." And I just started raging. I was like, because I don't know, you're disoriented, whatever. So they were very clear. I needed to wait a day before I could drive or do anything. So I had my girlfriend pick me up at the hospital. She checked me out, and I was fine within like 30 minutes. And the other nurse before surgery had told me that because I drink a lot, I might have a good tolerance to propylene. So little hack for you guys out there that have a surgery coming up: make sure you drink a lot before, and you'll build up your surgery recovery time. So point being, I had everything loaded in my truck and trailer. I got in the truck and trailer. We drove up there. About halfway on the road, I learned that my trailer's brakes were not working, and I had about 20,000 pounds on the back of the trailer of my truck. So proceeded to go about 45 miles an hour for the rest of the trip. And I don't know, somehow we made it. We made it to the base of the ranch. We started to go up the hill off-road, and within 200 feet, we were stuck. So that was the first night, I guess the first time we visited the ranch as owners, and we blocked the main road that everybody uses to get up there. So, fuck, I mean, if we don't make enemies out of every neighbor there, it'll be a miracle. So we ended up walking 1.5 miles up the hill with all the dogs, whatever we could carry. We grabbed a cart, we came back down, picked up what we could, and then got up first thing, back down the hill, unloaded everything, and drove it up empty. And that was our first weekend at the ranch. Besides that, it was great. But I will say, I do think there is going to be a very steep, pun intended, learning curve here, especially on that road going in. And so I've been monitoring the machinery auction websites, Ritchie Brothers, looking at excavators and dozers and things. And the auction is closing tomorrow. And I'm hoping that by the time you listen to this, I will be the proud owner of some new heavy machinery. I don't know what it is about guys in machinery, but there's just something primal about it. It's like sitting around a campfire. So just heavy machinery just does something to my brain. So hopefully I'll be owning an excavator, a big excavator. I sold my Mini X yesterday. And I'm hoping I will own a large excavator that I'll get shipped up there. I'm not trailering anything heavy anymore. I realize that I'm not qualified for that. And maybe a small bulldozer. I don't know. But excited about that. Then on Monday of this week, we closed escrow on the flip that we're doing. And we literally had guys there at 8 a.m. on Monday starting work. And the goal is we're supposed to do like a 60 to 90 day flip on this thing. We bought it for $1,070,000. We're planning on selling it for 1.4, 1.5. We're putting, we might make 150 grand between my partner and I. Nobody's getting rich, but it's kind of a quick, easy thing. Famous last words. We'll see how that works out. But I've been doing, again, I don't know why my partner has me doing this, but I'm doing the neighborhood interference. So it's a typical LA neighborhood. There's junk cars at both the houses, in front of our house and next to the house. They've got like 3 junk cars in the yard at both houses. So I reached out to the owners of those. I offered to buy the cars from them. I told them that, we're trying to fix up the house. I'm going to clean up the neighborhood a little bit. And, would they be interested in selling them? I'll buy them with or without titles. I'll handle the transportation, all of that. And I started all of this about 1.5 months ago. And I followed up multiple times. one of the neighbors told me that he's saving the car as a project that he's going to work on. And I asked him, how long have you had it there? And he said, about 30 years. I said, okay. Well, any day now on that project, it's out of view of his house, so he doesn't care. The other neighbor, their parents are in an old folks' home. They don't live there, so they don't care. I also offered to buy theirs, and his response was, yeah, I'll have to meet with the family about it and talk about it. And so I followed up a couple times, and he just didn't do anything, didn't have any updates. So I'm really embarrassed to say that due to the pressure of my partner, we did have to report them to the city. And, I'm not proud of that. It's not the coolest thing I've ever done, but we just weren't getting anywhere. We tried the friendly route. So when I was at the property today, I got one of the worst looks that I've ever received from anybody. I've given that look a lot of times to neighbors who've snitched on me. So I knew exactly where he's coming from. No hard feelings. I agree with that look. But at the same time, we got to do what we got to do. And what do they say? It's just business. And on the plus side, they were in the process of getting rid of one of the cars. So, it seems like it may have worked. Outside of that, starting to get fired from some listings. I got an email from my client today saying, remove the property from the market, take it off everything, blah, blah. I called him and I said, Danny, why are you firing me? I'm doing everything that you want me to do. What is this about? And he goes, I'm not firing you. He goes, it's just we're not getting the rate that we want to get. We're just gonna leave our inventory in the warehouse and we're not going to consolidate because we can't get the price. And I said, give us a chance. We have multiple offers on it. It's just that's where the market is. And his response was, yeah, it's just not worth it for us. And I go, okay, that's fine, but just know in 6 months rates will be lower than they're at now. So don't call me in 6 months and say, you want to lease it for $1 a foot because it'll probably be worth 25% less by then. And that kind of got me on to the train of pricing. We've been talking about it. It's been happening. It's starting to, it's been sliding for a long while. I think the combination of LA's local economy, the tariffs, the global economy, now this war with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz, I think we're in for some serious shockwaves. I think it's going to snowball even more in terms of lease rates. I would expect rates are going to go down quite a bit more before they turn the corner. Originally, I thought we had a year or two and the market would turn, but now, I'm not quite sure. I do think if you have a lot of money right now is a great time to buy. Although, I guess if you have a lot of money, it's always a good time to buy. So I don't know if, that's one of those statements kind of meaningless. But without being able to predict necessarily where the bottom is, and without being able to confidently say that I can lease anything for any rate, it's difficult to suggest to someone to buy a property for an investment that's vacant. But that's the world we're in. So there are users still purchasing, but they're few and far between. And I think we're getting close to that point I talked about before, where once those users are gone, it's going to be investors, and then it's going to be a real bloodbath. And the thing about when investors start purchasing properties, they're going to reset the basis, right? Because they're buying a property with an expectation of a certain rate of return. So if they're buying at a discount and they're okay with getting a lower rate, then they will push the market to lower rates. People will lose their equity. There will be foreclosures or short sales, and the result will be an acceleration of lower pricing, I think. And I think that's coming towards us probably fairly quickly, like within the next 6 months, I would say, unless something changes. So, which, is not looking likely at this point, but we'll see. I am working on a couple of bigger deals. Thank God. I've got a portfolio of properties that we're getting very slowly close to closing on. We're selling that to an investor, and it's cheap, but it needs a lot of work, so it should be cheap. And then I'm running around with some clients I've worked with for years. They're actually they referred me to like one of their parent companies. And they're looking for like 7 to 12 acres of heavy industrial land to buy. And so this time around, normally, I'm looking on the market. I look back through owners, but these guys are serious and they want something in the next like 3-4 months. And so I was thinking about it, and I go, I don't have time to deal with people who are not serious about selling. So I drafted an email. I sent it to all the institutional owners that I know, Blackstone and BlackRock and Prologis and Centerpoint and Fortress, First Industrial, every privately, publicly traded large real estate investment group here. And shockingly, I got a response from 100% of all of them. All of their disposition guys responded pretty much immediately. I got phone calls, and these guys are a lot of guys who before were really playing hardball are ready to go and make deals. We even had, one of the groups that I contacted, we had them out at one of their sites on Monday, and they sent out a few people to meet with me and my clients. And that's pretty cool. I mean, it is a freaking great time to be rolling around with a buyer user. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of them. But, if you do, I was raised really in this business to do landlord representation. That's how I've basically built my business, is mostly cold calling owners. We do cold call some tenants, but primarily we focus on owners, building relationships with owners. It's very slow. And it's directed and built, to service that business, to have listings, to do that whole deal. I never focused that much on tenant representation. I never called, that many businesses. Some, but again, not that many. Most of the inbound or most of the business I get that's buyer or tenant rep is it's inbound, like 90% of it. And it's from, I get a call on a sign, I get a call from, a referral. It's something like that. And so, I'd like to change that. But again, structurally, we're set up really for that landlord type of business. Depending on what type of business you have, you might be on the opposite end. We did extremely well when the market was crushing it in owners, when it was a good time to be an owner rep. Now, I've got 20, 25 listings. It's not that great of a time to be an owner rep. It's obviously gone the other way. I think I have to reinvent my business to some extent, but I don't think it's necessarily realistic that I'm just going to all of a sudden switch over. And, I believe in staying in it for the long term. You want to alter or you want to adapt, but you don't necessarily want to like just alter your course based on, I don't know, feelings or things like that. I want to continue to kind of service the main part of our business, and then also kind of add that other part in. So, it's tough. Buyer and tenant rep is tough because a lot of times they can go, what do they say? All buyers are liars. Like, I don't think that's necessarily true, but they can go and work with another broker fairly easily. They can, all of a sudden, they no longer have the requirement, or the requirement changes to a different market. It's a very volatile business unless you build super strong relationships there. The owner's market is much more stable. When you're talking to guys for years and years on end, they could always go to someone else, but realistically, usually you don't, because you built a relationship. They know they can trust you. So that, that's where I've just focused my business. We'll see over the next few years how that changes. But I think the next year is really going to be a proving ground for our business and for the market. And I'm not worried. I'm not worried, because whether the market crashes, whatever happens, as long as people are transacting, that's how we make money. So it's the times where people are holding, where they think prices are going to go up or they're going to go down and they don't want to do anything, or they're, that's when we don't make money, when nothing happens. And we already been through that cycle. You still find a way to make money, but I think we've already kind of gone through that. And now it's like people are transacting, deals are getting done. And so, I'm not a big believer in the pipeline. I think that you just do the work and the pipeline will fill itself. I guess you want to be thinking about deals and who's coming and, what do you have, but I never am projecting out, my commission on different deals I'm working on or what revenue I think I'm going to make based on these different, I never do that because you really can't predict most of it. If you just do the work, in my experience, the business comes. And I don't think anything's changed in that regard. It's still just doing the work, and I think the business will be there, and it will come, and you make deals. It's hard to predict, but I didn't get into this business so I could predict every little thing. This is a business, high risk, high reward, eat what you kill, all the other cliches, and, there's nothing predictable about it. But that's the nature of the beast, and you have to be okay with that. Otherwise, I think there are guys that operate more methodically in terms of, they got to do 5 deals this month and 5 deals, which is fine. And if that's your business model, there's other guys that only do 1 deal a year. I'm more something in the middle there. But I'm not too focused on that. I just do the work and the business comes, has been my experience. So with that being said, worst case scenario is I'm prepared to hunker down at our new off-grid shelter and survive this, I don't know if it's going to be a nuclear war, whatever kind of war. I think it'll be fine. If that's the scenario, it'll be fine too. People are so reactionary, and so I hate all this, the worst are these political analysts that I keep reading articles on the Wall Street Journal or on YouTube where they're talking about what their predictions of, if we do this, and all these people that are so sure of so many different outcomes. It's just bullshit. I'm so sick of hearing people's predictions about everything all the time. Their predictions and their descriptions of that. We have an obsession as a culture to predict the future, predict outcomes of events that are basically unknowable. We are convinced as a society that we are so smart and that we know so much, and we're convinced, and we're, what's the other word? We're constantly describing and defining what's going on right now. And this is this kind of movement, and this is this kind of thing. And it's fucking exhausting. I'm sick of hearing about people's predictions for the future. And I say this, and I know that I've tried to predict the future many times on this podcast, so obviously I'm full of shit, and I'm one of those people. But that's fine, because today I feel like saying, I really do. I'm sick of hearing about all the predictions and I think it comes from a primordial fear base that we want to know what's going to happen. And the thing that I've been thinking about a lot recently is, I don't know why this never occurred to me, but somehow in the last year, it's really sunk in that biologically, humans are no smarter today than they were probably 100,000 years ago. The only thing that we're smarter with is the knowledge that we've accumulated. And a lot of it's good, but a lot of it is not good. A lot of it is bullshit. And we don't know what the bullshit is now. But all you have to do is look back 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever it is, and you'll see that as a society, we were convinced of all these different things that turned out to be just absolute bullshit, that asbestos was a good idea, or that, nuclear radiation or nuclear warfare would be. There's just all these different things that are probably going on right now that we're not aware of, that are bad ideas. But we're convinced as a society, and this has probably been around, I think it's gotten worse, but I think people have always been convinced that they are the smartest generation, or they are the arrogance of humans has probably been a problem since the beginning. Now the issue we have is there's so much knowledge and information that we have convinced ourselves that we're right. Whereas before, I don't know, maybe before you'd use religion as an excuse, or you'd use the shaman. But intelligence-wise, biologically, we haven't changed in the last 100,000 years. Our brains have not. if you gave someone from 100,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago, whatever it is, the same information we have today, they would reason and think. I mean, all you have to do is read the classics. It's true. Sure, they had wacky ideas, but what's exhausting is the arrogance that we have nowadays, that we know everything now. And I don't know, maybe that's just getting older. You get sick of it. But the older I get, or the more I'm just thinking, like, we don't know the outcome of so many of these different things that we think. And we're not great describers or categorizers of all these things that we think that we understand. And people just need to go with the flow a little, man. Like, whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. And this obsession with predicting and describing, and especially on social media and all this stuff. And it's not just social media, the newspapers, the news, everybody is obsessed with it. We always have to be understanding what is going on, but it's not real. It's not a real understanding. And I think that, the same applies to our business, that our clients look to us for answers, and we can give some answers and we can give some indications in our feelings and our opinions and our thoughts, but we don't know either. And I think brokers are afraid to say that because it doesn't sound like a good sales pitch. Owners look to you for certainty and to tell them how the world's going to be. And I don't think we can do that. I can't do that. There are probably smarter people that can. But for me, what I find more compelling is I do not know what the future is, but I know what our current situation is. I have at least a pretty good idea of it and the data that we have now. And based on that, this is the decision that I would make right now. And it could be wrong in 6 months or 6 years, but based on what we have, this is the decision that I think we should make. And to not go around with this arrogance of like, past generations, what were they thinking doing this or doing that? Because usually not true. Like usually people in the past, they were very smart and they were doing what they could with what they had. And I'm sure that we're making the same mistakes that they made with different things now. And in 50 years, different generations are going to look at us and they're going to say, oh, that whole AI thing was a joke. Or they're going to say, oh, that whole AI thing, why did they create that? It wasn't a joke at all. What were they thinking? Or, and they will have the same kind of arrogance. But one thing I'm sure is humanity is not going anywhere, whether there's cyborgs or AI or whatever it is. Humans are not going anywhere for a long time. And brokerage is not going anywhere for a long time either, because humans are fucking messy. And I don't care if the smartest AI in the world comes out tomorrow. It doesn't matter. This is not about perfect reasoning and perfect outcomes and predictions. It's messy. You're dealing with complicated people and things. It's not all perfect transactional. It is the inefficiencies of the market and the inefficiencies of communications and the flaws of humans that makes this a business. And, until all of that becomes mechanized, there will be a world for brokers. And I don't want to hear any more predictions about where brokerage is going and what. Done with it, at least until next week.